Hey, this is Edwin Dearborn, another edition of Growth Driven. Thank you for joining me. If you are currently building your own empire, thinking about building your empire, well, I've got some news for you. This is Edwin Dearborn, another edition of Growth Driven. And I want to talk about building your empire. I know there's a lot of people out there that are looking to entrepreneurship in a new light, given what happened in 2020. And I'm not talking about or talking to those today that already have an empire. I'm talking about the dreamers and the doers. You're either thinking about building an empire or you're building something right now and you want it to become an empire. And what do I mean by empire? Something that's going to outlive you, something that's going to have a lasting impact, something that's so sustainable, so powerful, you can hand it off to your kids. You can sell it to somebody else. You can gift it to a family member. Whether you're building a church or building a business, we're talking about building your legacy. That's what we really mean, or that's what I feel building an empire means. It's not just about aggregating power and wealth, which are fine to aggregate. But what we're talking about is building something so big, something so impactful, it will be your lifetime legacy that you can hand off to your children, to your family, so that years, decades, maybe even centuries from now, this thing continues to go on. And what got me thinking about this, building an empire, was I was reading last night and someone said Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was built. And it just struck a chord in me that, when people tend to use that quote that Rome wasn't built in a day as an excuse or as a reason why things aren't occurring. When in reality, Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was built because someone had some bold visions and executed. And that's really what I want to talk about today. See, when you tell yourself, and particularly others, that you're going to build an empire, there's going to be a lot of doubt internally and outside. Now, who am I to talk about building an empire? Well, I sit on the board of directors of two very large companies. We're generating millions of dollars. I've started a couple new companies here in Las Vegas. One of those will easily be a multi-million-dollar company in the Vegas area in a matter of 2 or 3 years, just based on very conservative projections. And I had a conversation with my daughter, who I'm joining with us on this project, one of them here in Vegas. And I told her, I said, we're going to build this company so big that I can hand it off to you and I can go off into the sunset, work with my church, hang out at my ranch, and take my family on really cool trips and have you run it. Or we can sell it. We're going to build a mini empire here in Las Vegas. And so we started to discuss this topic of building the empire. And I think that's where it begins. You have to have the idea and then find the people, whether they're family members or friends or business associates, who are going to join you in that vision, not poo-poo it, not invalidate it, not shoot it down, and not give you the eye roll of you're crazy. So it begins with your own bold vision. And if you think about Rome, I've never been there this lifetime, but I've seen enough photographs that someone had an extremely bold vision of what this place was going to look like. Bold vision, got some people together, they started to build it, and they started to take the steps, which leads me to the next point. The fact that Rome was built is a testimony to man's ability to analytically lay out strategies, plans, schematics, processes, procedures that can be applied over and over and over, that those little successes and those little days of progress lead to one day, 5, 10, 20 years later, a massive pantheon or a cathedral or a coliseum. Some of these epic buildings took decades to build. But now, look at what we have. Rome, still to this day, is the capital of the Catholic Church, one of the largest denominations on planet Earth. So they built not only an epic city, but an epic city that is now the capital of a worldwide religion with hundreds of millions of members. And it all started with an idea. And yes, they called the early Romans crazy. They called Christ crazy. But somehow all these factors of these dreamers and builders came together, and now we have what is Rome, what it is today. Okay, I'm not suggesting that you build a city as big as Rome, but if that's your goal, have at it. But what about building a legacy where it's just enough to not only take care of yourself very well, but it has an impact on your community, and you actually create a legacy that protects your family, that grows your philosophical ambitions? What if you did that? So we have the processes and procedures, and this is why I'm such a big advocate of writing down the strategies, putting them into systems, whether they be software systems, management coordination systems, technology that allows you to automate your marketing, that allows you to follow up with email campaigns, which allows you to educate and coordinate with team members like Slack. All of these technologies the Romans did not have. Can you imagine if the Romans had Slack and the engineering tools of today? My God, they would have rebuilt the entire world in a matter of centuries. So we have access as a people to these incredible tools that allow us to build our own empire. And I think that if you are serious about building your empire, just go to Google or go to YouTube and type in building your empire. The amount of books and articles and commentaries and videos and podcasts is enormous. I mean, literally building your empire could be a 100-hour, 200-hour deep dive study on the subject. Whether it's looking at how others have done it in the past or how others are doing it currently, I think it's important that if this subject matter, this topic piques your interest, intrigues your curiosity, inspires and lights a fire within you, then it's worth the time for you to study about the topic. I know that this is what I'm building. This is what, I'm almost 60 years old. I'll be 57 next month. By the time I'm 65, I plan on having so many empires already in place, sustained, having others work on it, and me continuing to create the things that I want to create. So I'm not looking at what can I do tomorrow, or how do I get money next week, or how do I buy something not worth anything in a couple of years. But how am I going to leave a legacy within my lifetime that impacts my family name, my children, my grandchildren, my community here in Las Vegas, the state of Nevada, the United States of America, and humanity? Yes, and people will call me crazy. People have called me crazy. I'm sure they'll call me crazy once again. And if you are committed to building your empire, that is one of the dark forces that you're going to have to wade through. You're going to have to wade through the skepticism, the catcalls, the doubts, and the majority of those doubts and catcalls are coming from two types of individuals. Number one, people who gave up on their dreams. And now they're going to sell you the idea that dreams, big dreams, are not possible. So you're gonna run into the people that had the failed purpose, and now they're out there out selling their failed purpose to the world to justify why it's okay having a failed purpose. And number two, there's just a certain percentage of the population that likes to destroy things. That is their goal. They are sociopaths, they're psychopaths, and sometimes they're in your family, and sometimes they're in your circles, and they wear suits, and they sound very logical. They may even come to you as your quote unquote best friend. But there is a small percentage of society which are sociopaths and psychopaths. And if you don't know what those two words mean, then go grab a dictionary and look them up. But you're going to run into those people too. And sometimes they're high in political offices, and sometimes they're the ones you're trying to get your permits from, your contracts from, and that's just part of the empire building game, is to wade through all that crap. So I believe that, and this is what attracted me to strategy and specifically marketing strategy, because I knew that if I could have a business and out market and outsell the other guy, that gave me a distinct advantage in growing my business. And then once I make the money, I turn it over to financial experts and they invest it for me so that my money lasts longer than I do. And my money is now making money. I've got a business making money, which is putting money into an account, which is also making money. If this is something that intrigues you, again, my call to you is go to Google, go to YouTube, punch in the words building my empire or building your empire. And I guarantee you, you're going to find a plethora of information about how to build your empire. There's no lack of data. There's no lack of examples to follow. This is not the problem. The problem is, will you execute? Will you surround yourself with other individuals? Will you get the job done? That's all we have. Okay. You make it a great day, and I'll see you shortly again here on Growth Driven. Bye-bye.